Hey, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to episode 3 of Informed Risk Taking, brought to you by Delphi Sports. My name is Liam, and typically I pick fights, but today I am also going to be sitting in the host chair. Our fallen soldier, our man B-Hall, unfortunately is on the injured reserves for tonight, but he will be back on the show on Thursday. Don't worry about B-Hall. Guys, today on the show, we're going to be breaking down the night that was UFC Vegas 21. Bilal, remember the name Muhammad versus Leon Edwards, marred by controversy. What a weird night of fights. We'll also be breaking down NBA action with the Commish. We'll be breaking down NHL action with Justyn, the NHL guy. But I have a question for you. Will you be filling out a March Madness bracket this year? Then maybe you'd be interested in what Delphi Sports has to offer. We're going to be doing a special episode of the show. It's going to be March Madness bracket breakdown, brought to you by some of the risk informants at Delphi Sports. You guys aren't going to want to miss that, so get subscribed. Stay tuned to the channel. So, folks, we're going to get right into our breakdown for UFC Vegas 21. That was a strange night of fights, huh? I can't remember the last time that there were 2 no decisions on a UFC event. Maybe that's never happened before. I'm sure it has. It's a weird world of fighting, but that was a bizarre fight night. Not a night that went my way overall, guys. I was disappointed by that. Ended up minus 2.2 units on the night, but we're still plus 9.2 units on the year. So this is a long-term game. You got to take the wins with the losses. We believe in owning our wins, owning our losses on this show. And sometimes you take a loss. And this was a night that was a losing night for me, but it had a bunch of bright spots too. So I'll talk about some of the bright spots first. I ended up cashing my my biggest play of the night, which was on Matheus Nicolau against Manel Kape. That was a very close fight. I thought that Nicolau looked like the clear favorite in round 1, and I was very happy with that plus money I got on him. But then I was a little scared in that second round when he got dropped. I thought that the third round was very close. I thought he won the majority of the minutes, but he also got hit by some big shots in the last minute of that round. I think we might have got away with one, but sometimes they go for you and sometimes they go against you. So we're always happy to cash that ticket, and especially if it's a split decision fight and you back the guy at plus money and he ends up winning, I mean, you always come out of that with a smile on your face. So that was something I was excited about. I was also excited that I was able to tip on the show and in a UFC quick pick prior to the event, the under 1.5 rounds for that Misha Cirkunov and Ryan Spann fight. I felt like that was a near lock. I should have went way harder in terms of the bet on that, but I try and be a little more conservative in my prop betting approach. And so far that's working on the year. My prop bets right now are returning at 30% through 2021. And I'm very happy with that. So I'm going to continue to use a conservative staking structure in terms of my prop betting, but I probably should have went a little harder on this. The market ended up following me. I got the line at minus 125, and that's where I tried to tip it to you guys. It was already up to minus 140, ended up closing at minus 150. And on the night, I feel like you guys might agree that looked like a minus 300. That was a very high percentage outcome. Those guys were going to come forward, clang and bang, light heavyweight fight, not great durability on either side. So I felt like somebody was destined to fall. I felt like Misha Cirkunov had the better technique. I mean, watching that fight, I'm still not convinced that I had that read wrong. I just think that I overestimated Cirkunov's ability to recover from some of the damage he's taken in his career. I expected that the 2 years off would play into his favor in some regard because he'd have a refreshed chin, and that just wasn't the case, guys. I think Misha Cirkunov is red flagged for me permanently moving forward because I can't really back a guy with my hard-earned money if I have so many questions about his chin. And this is a few times he's been chin checked by guys that I feel like he's more talented than in the UFC. But at a certain point, you got to say, stop the bleeding here. It doesn't matter how skilled you are if you can't get the win. So I think that I'm going to pass on the Misha Cirkunov bets moving forward, but I can't hate on it in retrospect. I got him on the money line at minus 122. That line ended up floating out to minus 140. Came back into minus 135, I think, at close. So I got a little bit of closing line value, but there's no value on a bet that doesn't cash, ladies and gentlemen. So I was disappointed by the Misha Cirkunov side. I feel like that was kind of a sucker bet in retrospect. I had a good read on the under 1.5. Should have just stuck with that. But we live and we learn. We should always be taking lessons from our gambling, from our wagering. We are trying to take the best informed risk. We're trying to play percentages here, not outcomes. And I feel like that was a sucker bet for me. I feel like a lot of my other bets, I got a bad beat, I feel like, on that Gavin Tucker fight, just a little bit. I'm not saying he would have won, but I feel like I would have liked to see that fight play out just a little bit to see what Gavin had to offer Dan Ige in that fight. I don't know that fight ever got going, unfortunately. What a picture-perfect right hand. As I said on Twitter, at Liam Picks Fights last night, Dan Ige, take my ticket, light it on fire. You deserve it. What a beautiful knockout. And sometimes you just got to credit the guy. I feel like Dan Ige has overperformed throughout his entire UFC tenure, and got to stop fading this guy, man. He is excellent. He's nails, and he's got ice in his veins on fight night. I feel like he showed up ready to do a mission, and that's a scary guy. He treats his job like a mission. He doesn't treat it like, leaving something in the hands of the judges. By example, this man, Dan Ige, is trying to take out every opponent, and I feel like that was a clean kill that he had said he was planning on in the lead up to that fight. Salute Dan Ige. Take my money. Other than that, guys, I also was tipping Ashley Yoder at plus 330. The closing line on Ashley Yoder was at plus 270, so I feel like I did get closing line value there. But again, guys, I don't know that this looked like a valuable bet in hindsight. And I'll tell you why. I just thought Ashley Yoder had a terrible game plan for this fight. And I feel like everybody that bet on Ashley Yoder knew that she needed takedowns to win this fight. And it seemed like she didn't realize that until the midpoint. It also just, the takedown selection, I like upper body trips, throws, slams. That's what I love. That's my bread and butter. That's what I'm always going for if I'm on the mats. But I also think that in a UFC fight, you got to be looking for something high percentage. You got to be putting somebody along the cage, pressuring them, forcing them to work, and then reaching for your singles, your doubles. You got to have a real comprehensive takedown game. It can't just be one and done. It can't just be these headlocks from the feet. And I expected her to make more improvements. She was the younger athlete of the two, and it just looks like she hasn't made significant improvements since the first time she fought Angela. And the tendencies in Angela that I liked coming into this fight, they were still present. Angela gave the takedowns. I'm not talking about Ashley Yoder getting them. I'm talking about Angela Hill giving them, just with wild aggression in the clinch, putting herself to her back. I feel like a more competent and more confident wrestler could have taken more advantage of some of those spots and opportunities. And so, if Angela Hill's a minus 400 in her next fight, and I think that the person is more reliable to go out there and try and shoot takedowns, wrestle, grapple the entire time, and enforce that game plan, then yeah, I'd be more confident in backing them. But I think that Ashley Yoder is also red flagged for me moving forward. Just if I see a game plan that bad this deep into UFC tenure, it's going to put me off betting on you, at least for a few fights, at least until I see some evidence that her striking game has evolved. That was a really one-sided performance on the feet, like I expected it would be if it remained on the feet. And so unfortunately, it looked like Angela Hill lived up to at least a minus 300 indication, probably closer to minus 350. So I think that we might not have gotten the value I thought that I was seeing going into that fight. I expected more improvements from Ashley Yoder, and I expected more consistency on the offensive wrestling, and we didn't get it. So we look forward, we look ahead, we come back to battle again next week. Like I said, took a small loss on the night, but we're still up on the year, and we're playing a long-term game here. So I'm excited. We've got Kevin Holland and Derek Brunson next weekend. I'm going to be diving into the tape early this week. I'm going to be trying to get the best reads, the best lines, try and get some quick picks out on the line for you guys as well. So thank you guys for tuning into this segment of the show. I appreciate it, but I have to take back over as the host of this show, which you can look forward to in just a second. And next up on the show, we have the basketball segment with the man, the myth, the legend, the Commish. What's going on, man?
Liam, good to see you.
It's good to see you, Commish. Let's get right into it. Commish, you called the Minnesota-New Orleans game perfectly last week. The Pelicans defense was terrible. Van Gundy lambasted the entire team. You also called the Utah game correct, but you missed on the Warriors. Take us through your week of action. Tell me what's going on, Commish.
Yeah, so we had a profitable week. The Utah game was a little bit interesting. The public, it was such a no-brainer that the public actually betted that lineup from minus 13 at its opening price to minus 19. If you saw the show last week, or if you follow at Delphi Commish on Twitter, you saw that to hop on that right when the market opened and get it at -13. And hopefully you did, because if you didn't get on it at -14 or under, you actually lost that bet because Utah only won that game by 15. The Minnesota-New Orleans game, man, I had a lean on Minnesota to cover the spread. I didn't expect them to win by 30 points, but we did talk about on the show last week that Van Gundy and his defense with the Pelicans has just been terrible. We were fortunate that the over still came in on that game. There was a lot of garbage time and the pace slowed down considerably in the fourth quarter. But a win is a win. We're not going to complain about how we get wins with this as difficult as they are to come by. The Golden State game, I apologize to everybody. I don't know what I was thinking with the Warriors. +7.5. I don't think they covered +7.5 after the second quarter. They just looked totally overmatched. The Clippers actually shot some threes in that game. They shot over 40 threes. I mentioned on the show last week, if the Clippers would do that, they might be able to put themselves into the title conversation with Utah and with some of those other really good teams. So was impressed with what I saw out of the Clippers. Golden State looked really overmatched. And of course, they went and beat Utah on Sunday. So the NBA is back to making absolutely no sense again. But hopefully we'll be able to deliver another profitable week here coming up.
Absolutely, Commish. I got good faith in you. And certainly, talking to me, I didn't turn a profit this week. So I got to step my game up, catch up with you. Knicks, Nets. Monday night, we got some action in New York. It's going to be on ESPN. I know that you've been looking forward to this matchup for a while. Who do you have in the Battle of New York?
Liam, I wish I could say I like the Knicks in this matchup. I just can't. Derrick Rose is still out of the lineup. He's still missing with some COVID issues. I would love to say New York, but the Knicks are just not the same team without Rose in the lineup. I know they just took care of OKC by 20 points, but the majority of that game, the lead was about 5-9. OKC put their G League squad in the fourth quarter, and Thibodeau, famous for playing his starters to the final buzzer, even if they're up 20 points, they took advantage. They pulled away late. I just don't think the Knicks have enough offense here. Brooklyn, they opened as 7.5-point favorites. I imagine that line's going to be bet probably to 8, 9, maybe even 10-point favorites in this game. Brooklyn, their last 8 games, they're 8-0. They've been with Irving and Harden in the lineup. They did have a loss in there to the Mavericks when Irving sat. Their last 13 overall, they're 12-1. I mean, some of these teams they've been beaten too. The Pacers, the Warriors, the Suns, the Lakers, Clippers, Spurs, Celtics. They even got revenge on the Pistons, who are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, but who had bested them a few weeks back. Brooklyn just looks like they just look like a juggernaut in the Eastern Conference right now. I love the Knicks. I love them to make the playoffs. I think they've overperformed expectations. I've been on the Knicks since December. I unfortunately just don't think they're going to have enough on the offensive end in this game to warrant taking them, even if they're getting 7 or 8 points.
I hear you on that, Commish. I'm unfortunate for our New York team over here, but I understand it. I understand it. We've got Utah as the last topic for the show. They're continuing a road trip on Tuesday in Boston. And we talked a lot about the Jazz last week on the show. So could I ask you, in this matchup with the Celtics, how big of an underdog do you anticipate that they're going to be here?
Yeah, so this game's going to take place on Tuesday, so we don't have the lines for it yet, but I do anticipate Utah's probably going to fall between that probably 6 to 9 point favorite in this game. If it's less than 9 points, I'm definitely hopping on Utah. I know they lost to Golden State. They looked pretty bad on Sunday, but this is a really good team, and I think a lot of the Jazz's strengths are the Celtics are going to have no answer for. The Celtics are pretty abysmal defending the 3-point line. Utah takes the most 3-pointers in the league. They're third in success percentage shooting the 3 ball. Boston, man, they have this quote-unquote big 3 with Jason Tatum, with Jaylen Brown, with Kemba Walker. They have this prodigy coach who's been in the league for almost a decade now. It's hard to believe in Brad Stevens. It just feels like something's missing here. They've been around 500 most of the season, even though they opened as, in the preseason, one of those teams that had a shot to represent the Eastern Conference. They just don't have it. I mean, you look at their stats, they have a mediocre defense trending towards the bottom third of the league. Their offense is not that great. They're 6-10 against plus 500 teams. Another reason to like Utah in this matchup, 21st in defensive efficiency. Then the other night against Brooklyn, they show these flashes. We're like, man, Boston looks really good right now. And then they lost by double digits. It just feels like this big 3 of Tatum, Brown, and Kemba, they're not as good as Boston would hope to be, and they definitely don't have the depth to contend with. I mean, not that Brooklyn has a ton of depth in that game, but Utah definitely does. I mean, if they were exploited by Brooklyn down the stretch, getting outscored by 10 in the fourth quarter, I think even if Boston manages to keep this game close at home, Utah has a lot of firepower. They're about 8, 9, maybe even 10 deep in terms of having some really quality players. I like Utah a lot in this game.
So the Commish says we're fading Boston. As a New Yorker, that's something I can get on board with. All right.
Man, go Knicks. I hope I'm wrong on this. I hope the Knicks can pull it off, but good luck to everybody on their action this week.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, Liam.
And we're going to move right along, guys. We've got the NHL coming up with Justyn. Justyn, how you feeling, man?
Liam, we're hanging in there. Had a pretty good week on the ice here, and hungry for more coming up this week.
That's awesome, man. Everybody's having a good week but me. But that's all right. I'm sitting in the host chair. I'm still positive. I'm upbeat, and I'm ready for next weekend. But first off, we're going to recap your plays from last show. We had a tough 1-1 split. Some bad luck on that under 5.5. I know in the group chat you were letting us know. We went on that roller coaster along with you. It's looking good, boys. Oh, it's starting to close. Oh, it's all gone. It was brutal. We felt that pain right alongside you. But we did pick up a nice win Saturday night. Florida over Chicago. Walk us through some of your plays.
Of course, yeah. First, want to start off with that Florida-Chicago game. Florida, really nice 4-2 win on Saturday night. Really nice cover on the puck line, too, which is something I kind of teased there. But Florida continues to roll. However, as you teased, going to that San Jose Anaheim under 5.5. Oh, God. Brutal, brutal, brutal. 2-0. End of second period. Wouldn't say an easy winner because, you could get 3 goals in that third period, but oh my gosh, just a terrible meltdown by Anaheim. But with the way that game was going, it looked like it was due to happen. But did get a nice win on Florida, though. And also Vegas, as I said earlier on the Monday show, I predicted 3-1 and better. Came so close to that narrow 4-3 loss against Minnesota on Wednesday. But a nice series win against St. Louis, took both those games. So 2-2 split for them. They're going to be a team I'm looking forward to as well coming up here.
That's awesome. Good stuff, Justyn. Had a pretty good week. What do we have to look forward to this week? I know that Monday night there's a showdown. Boston Bruins, they're visiting the Pittsburgh Penguins. Boston's been struggling a little bit lately, 4-4-2 in their last 10. Whereas on the other side, we got Pittsburgh finding a hot streak. 7-3 in their last 10, 5-game win streak, right? So do you think Boston's going to continue to find their game here, or do you like the Pens to just keep rolling, go on that winning streak?
We're going to be fading Boston. Give me Pittsburgh in this game. I love them in this spot, especially at home.
That always puts a smile on my face. We're fading Boston on the show today, guys. Hopefully it pays off, pays some dividends for us. Hopefully that is a well-informed risk. Lastly, we're going to head out west for a game that you really like, Arizona at Anaheim. You have been quoted with Anaheim before saying they're an exciting team to watch, and Arizona's just like that way. They're another exciting team. How do you feel like the betting value is going to be playing out in this matchup? Where do you think you're going to find a value spot?
Well, Anaheim is in my doghouse a little bit here. But we're going to go back at him here. Going under 5.5 again. Goaltending is going to be the key here. John Gibson, I'll forgive him for Friday night, even though I've lost a couple hours of sleep over him. However, on the opposite side, Darcy Kemper, 2.41 goals against average. He has taken good form this year. Really had a good playoff last year as well in the bubble with Arizona. And also, I want to tease Arizona here. Slight play on them on the money line. I like them going against Anaheim. Anaheim just not been looking very good. Connor Garland for them really stepped up nicely for Arizona. Pleasant surprise, 22 points. Also Clayton Keller, 21 points for them. And Jacob Chikrin really developed as a premier defenseman on the back end for them with nice offensive upside. I think goals are going to be hard to come by here. So like I said, I'm going to forgive Anaheim, clean slate, out of my doghouse, if they can give me that under 5.5 along with Arizona there on Tuesday night.
All right, so we're going back to the well, under 5.5. We feel like we got it this time. Better matchup, better chance. Let's hope that it plays out. We're ready to ride. Delphi Sports, thanks you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this segment. Thank you very much, Justyn, for dropping this insight. Fade Boston.
Of course.
So thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show. The next time you will be hearing from us is on Thursday, March 18th for another episode of Informed Risk Taking. But for those of you interested in filling out a bracket, we're going to have a special episode. That's going to be a bracket breakdown. You guys are going to want to tune in and check that out. So thank you guys again. If you're interested in hearing this show on an audio format, check it out on all the major podcasting platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. We are available on all social media platforms. You can find Justyn at Justyn Spansky. You can find the Commish. You can find myself at Liam Picks Fights on all social media platforms. Guys, get subscribed. Find the podcast. Find the show on YouTube. We really appreciate all of you guys that have been checking this out. And as always, make sure that you tune into this show to take the best informed risk. Thank you so much.